If you're still thinking of AI as just another tool, you are missing the bigger picture. AI is becoming a teammate, one that can reason, plan, and take action alongside you. And the smartest leaders I work with are not just using AI to move faster, they're redesigning workflows, building new ways of thinking, and preparing their teams for a future where AI agents are a part of every area of their operations. And that future is not a distant scenario. A new study from Harvard and Wharton found that AI doesn't just increase output, it replicates many of the benefits of real human collaboration: better thinking, stronger outcomes, and even higher energy and morale amongst teams. This is not just about automation anymore, this is collaboration. And in this video, we're going to talk about how you build the workflows, the skills, and the mindset to lead when AI isn't just a tool, but a true teammate on your team. Hi everyone, I'm Sada, and I help leaders make sense of the changes that AI is creating across industries with clarity, strategy, and a focus on building your AI advantage. Over the past decade, I've led technology integrations, researched implementation models, and applied these practical frameworks across K-12, higher education at USC, Apple, and Wix. And one thing I have seen that is consistent: even the best teams struggle when they start with the technology first before understanding their people. And in the latest Microsoft Work Trend Index for 2025, do you know the number one thing they say we need to understand most about people right now? It's that every 2 minutes, people are being interrupted by a meeting, an email, or a chat every single day during their work hours. Perhaps the notification just went off for you right now. 53% of leaders say that productivity needs to increase, that we need more innovation in our companies. But 80% of people say we have no time. And the solution that leaders are thinking about right now is that 82% of them say, let's just use AI agents. And I don't know that I agree. So why are they so confident that AI agents might be able to do this for them? Well, it's because AI is no longer just an isolated tool. It's actually becoming a teammate, a digital worker that they can hire that can reshape how workflows operate, how teams are collaborating, and how value is getting created. So today, here's what we're going to cover: why building AI literacy across your team is going to give you an AI advantage, how designing agent-powered workflows builds the skills your team will need tomorrow to get started on this work, and where to start even if you are new to AI integration. Because if you just keep waiting, it's not just going to cost you time, it will cost you results. And if you want to lead in this next era of work, it starts with how you design and prepare the culture and people inside your organization today. Now, one of the things it's important to know is that this is about a lot more than just learning how to prompt. It's about how your organization is thinking about intelligence, how it's thinking about processes, how it's thinking about decision making, and more importantly, how it's thinking about workflows that help you achieve the results you're looking to achieve. So let's break down what this new type of collaboration between humans and AI looks like in 3 phases. That way you can see where you are now and where you are headed. Now, we're going to use Microsoft's 2025 Work Trend Index to do this. It's one of the clearest signals I've seen about where the future of work is headed. And their message, like we're hearing from a lot of places, AI is not just a tool, it is now part of your team. So in the report, they describe the shift from org charts to work charts. Now, in a traditional org chart, you might have at the top your superintendent. In a business, this would be like your CEO. Now, below them, we have members of like their executive cabinet. So you might have like the assistant soup of ed services. You might have over here the assistant soup of like HR. Over here, you might have like, your communications director and people along those lines. Now, each of these people below them have their own departments. And in your typical org chart, the person here is reporting to the person here, and this person is reporting to the person here. Now, Microsoft says this is going to change. We're going to move away from org charts, so not so much have these anymore, but more have what we call work charts, where we are now going to be defined by the actual goal. So now over here, you may have HR, you may have your marketing team, and other people as well, who are all part of contributing to this goal over here. Now, let's say, for example, this is where your AI agents now come in. Because maybe to achieve this goal over here, you maybe have an AI over here that is a strategist. You may have an AI over here who is trained in communications. Now, whereas before, maybe you would have multiple people doing specific roles, this AI over here can actually now be shared. So HR can use this AI, your marketing team can use this AI. And so now what's happening is we don't need to hire multiple individuals to perform a certain task, because whereas one person can't be given to every single team that's out there, one AI can be shared by every member across the organization. And so this is sort of the big shift we're going to see. Instead of just looking at people reporting to people, you're now going to have these AIs joining the team, and that's going to shift the way we think about how work is happening. And again, this isn't sort of like some distant future scenario. This is something that is already changing how companies hire, how teams operate, and really also how decisions are being made. Microsoft found that 82% of leaders believe that this new structure for how they design their teams is going to allow them to be more productive. They believe AI is changing the structure of their teams, and 75% say that they would now prioritize AI skills over traditional experience. Because if you don't know how to collaborate in this way, it's going to be very hard for you to be successful in these environments. So now this brings us to, how are people currently using AI, and what do people need to do to get to this place? Now, Microsoft says there are 3 phases we're going to go through to get to this moment. So let's go ahead and take a look at where we are now. So right now we're in phase 1, okay? In phase 1, this is typically where most people are today. We have a tool like, AI. This might be ChatGPT, might be Gemini, it might be Copilot. But what happens is you also just have a human, okay? So for right now, we're kind of using this in a very individual way. Now, over here, the human might be using the AI for, say, things like maybe write me an email, okay? Maybe they want a meal plan, or whatever the task is that they are looking for. And this is where most people are today. But what we need to do now is make the transition to phase 2. Now, a really big difference in phase 2 is in phase 1, AI is helpful. But at the end of the day, you have to do the thinking, you have to do the doing. Now in phase 2, things are going to start to change. Now in phase 2, your AI systems are going to start acting more like teammates. They're not just going to wait for instructions. You can actually give them a goal, give them a task, and they will decide, what tools do I need to use? What pieces do I need to pull in to give you what it is that you're looking for? Now, one of the best areas that we can see this right now is deep research, which anybody can get up and try inside of ChatGPT, Perplexity, or Gemini. So let's say in this example, you have the human over here, okay? Now, let's say it goes to deep research and it says, I want to report on the top 10 AI integration strategies that are being used across education. This is where things start to change, because now in this case, you have the AI. But when it goes out and does deep research, if you tried this, you know it's going to go and use the internet. Okay, it's going to go and research and look for articles, it's going to look for reports, it's going to look for blogs, and it's not just going to put them all together. It's going to collect them, but it's also going to compare and contrast. Okay, it's also going to evaluate. Okay, it's going to analyze. And these are all really high level thinking skills that if I was hiring somebody to do this work, it would cost me a lot of time and money. And this is sort of one of the best ways to think about this deep research tool. It's like having a consultant in your pocket 24/7. But usually most consultants only specialize in one area. Your AI tool has a specialty like a PhD in just about not only every single area, but it's able to synthesize information in a cross-collaborative way across those different disciplines as well. And this makes it, something that quite frankly, we've just never had before really in the world. So now over here, it's going to go ahead and it's going to take its next step. So now let's say it's done that. Once it kind of collects and it had done all of this research, now it's actually going to go ahead and put it together for you in a report. So now over here, its next step is, let's say, to generate the report. The report is going to come with like an executive summary. It's going to come with citations. It's going to have recommendations. Again, all the things you can kind of imagine a consultant would do. But it doesn't actually stop there. So now once we can say this phase is done, now your AI might be like, well, how do you want this report? Do you want this report as a podcast? Because guess what? I can give it to you as an audio overview. Do you want this as a document? Guess what? I can give it to you that way too. And this kind of choice, again, that's like, you go to a consultant, this is an extra fee over here, right? This one, extra fee over here. So you can very quickly see why a leader would be really interested in looking at this as an alternative to a person. So when you have companies, say like Duolingo, say like, well, we're not going to use contractors anymore, and we're going to move away from consultants and things like that. This is the kind of thing that people mean. And it's very easy in this scenario to get overwhelmed or to feel scared. But the most important thing for us to consider is, okay, great. If a computer can now do these things, what new opportunities does that open up for me? Now, let's look at phase 3. Now, in phase 3, what happens is, this is where you have, say, a person, okay? You're going to have your human, but over here, you're going to have multiple agents that human is managing. Now, the human is working with the AI, but the AIs are also going to be working with other AIs. And in this scenario, you're going to have multiple of these kind of working in this way. And in this scenario, one of the biggest things you're going to see happen is this human over here is going to be essential. And again, this is where I go back to, when intelligence is available to everybody, insight is going to be rare. And whereas before we may have needed, say, 3 people to do this job, now I'm just going to need 1 person to do the job. And so this is, again, is a very important thing to remember, that yes, AI is going to replace people, but not everyone. So if you can be this 1 person, because you're the person who was proactive about AI, you were the person who was learning how to prompt, you were the person who was thinking about workflows, then you are the person who is going to be very well positioned to get the promotion to be the one who manages the AI team. Now, that's actually a really good way to think about it is, we don't promote every single person on the team, right? We promote 1 or 2 people on the team, usually every quarter, every cycle, however it goes. You want to be angling yourself to be that 1 person who is going to have the oversight over these other AIs. Because if you leave them and let them go rogue, that's when you run into, hallucinations, mistakes, and room for error. So human oversight is going to be essential. We're just not going to need multiple humans to do that work. So let's now take a look at an example of something that we're all familiar with in an area where every single report is telling us we need a lot of help, and that is how to prepare for a meeting. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So I'm going to give you an example of something that we were working on recently with an assistant superintendent of ed services. Now, she has to prep an agenda for upcoming board meetings, and she does this once a week. And this is currently what the process looks like. So basically, so as she presents, she's getting ready for this board meeting, okay? Now, on her team, every single person has to prepare their notes, okay? And these notes basically form what's going to be pieces of her agenda. Now, once everybody submits these notes, okay, she's got about 4 people on her team, she has to sit here and curate the notes, okay? Super time consuming. She curates these notes, okay? And then these notes then get sent over to her superintendent, okay? And we haven't even gotten to the meeting part yet. Superintendent now goes through and adjusts and reviews the notes and prepares them to send to the board. This entire process was taking them anywhere between 4 to 5 hours each week. Now what I want to do is take a look at what we did when we started integrating AIs into the process. I remember at this point, these aren't really even like full autonomous AI agents. These are really just like custom GPTs, GEMs in Gemini, chatbots made in Chip, or whatever custom tool it is you might be using. And let's take a look at what the process looks like now. So in this use scenario, we now have given her assistant a larger role in part of this process, okay? And this is one of the biggest advantages that I think custom AI tools unlocks is people that you may not have delegated or given full tasks to before, you now can because you've already trained your custom tool on your knowledge and your information. So in this case, what her assistant now does is she has a Google form. Okay, that's what they're using. You might use another form based on whatever your company is using. Now what happens is every single individual is submitting their notes, okay, to this Google form. Now, every single time a submission comes in from this Google form, okay, it goes into their custom GPT, okay, and that custom GPT has already been trained Okay? When this form comes in, I want you to have this format. Okay, so we kind of have like the bullets that she's looking for. Your format might be, putting things into a table, whatever you want that format to be like. We also have some additional notes. We have things like tone. We have things like length. We have things like words never to use. Okay, that's a big one. If you are not training your AI tools on words never to use, it's going to end up sounding very ick, and then people are going to get frustrated. So all of this is happening without any human intervention. Now, remember before over here, every single person was like involved in that process. But because this custom GPT has been trained once, and we can go back and give it feedback if we need to, it's able to do all of this on its own. So now what happens once we get these results here that have been summarized the way she wants them to be, it goes now back to the assistant. Okay, so now the assistant gets these new notes, okay, over here, and she is going to do a final check, okay? And now, once she does this final check, now what's going to happen is now it's going to come to the assistant superintendent, okay, at services, and she's going to do one more final review, okay? And now this process that used to take anywhere between 4 to 5 hours for her each week is taking 30 minutes. And that, friends, is why when people in Microsoft reports say we're going to now see an increase in productivity with AI tools, this is why. And never to remember, again, this is not full-on autonomous AI agents. Over here, the assistant has a bigger role in the process in both the beginning and the end as the person with the human oversight. But the idea is that this person is a very important assistant superintendent with many other tasks, has now freed anywhere between, let's just say 4 hours to now focus on more innovation, more creativity, and more productivity inside her organization. So bottom line, you're not going to scale AI by just distributing licenses out across your organization. You're going to scale it with fluency by building these kinds of workflows, looking for the friction points. And when teams understand what makes a GPT effective, how do you train it? How do you craft prompts? How do you design these workflows? How do you test and iterate? They're not just using tools, they are building systems. And the only way to learn that is to actually do it and try it. And so here are some of the other things I've seen in top performing teams that we're working with. Superintendents are using AI agents, like I showed you, to draft board reports, parent communications, evaluations, and many other things. Academic advisors are creating custom assistants for student scheduling and degree planning. Hey, you're interested in this? Okay, instead of flipping through multiple brochures and magazines, let's have a chatbot do that work for us. HR directors are building onboarding tools to train new staff across multiple campuses, multiple sites in a district. Professional development teams are generating personalized training plans for educators based on their role in the site that they're at. None of these people are technology experts, but they are problem solvers, and AI agents are here to help make their work easier so that they can reach higher levels of productivity, but also creativity and innovation. So the question really is, how are you training your team to think with AI, not just use AI? Because the real value of AI agents, because this is the work. If you want to be successful when AI agents actually really do what they're promised to do, the people who have done this work in these workflows are the ones that have like the job descriptions ready for their AI tools, but they're the ones who realize this is where the AI should be used and this is where the AI should not be used. So the real value of AI agents isn't just going to be in what they write and what they can do. It's going to be in what friction they're going to be able to remove because you were able to identify the blockers and the time suckers in your work. Now, most teams really stop at surface level use, rewriting emails, summarizing meetings, drafting content, and that is fine. But if that's where your AI agent use ends, then remember, like I shared with you, you're actually really just going to be over here in phase 1 and not have the skills and sort of workflows ready to move your teams from phase 1 to phase 2 to phase 3. So the real ROI is going to show up when you zoom out, when you start looking at your workflows and you start asking yourself, where is the friction? Where are your teams stuck in repetitive, rule-based, time-heavy processes? Because that is where AI agents are really going to be able to come in and help. So what is the work we could start doing now? While the technology is not 100% perfect, we can start mapping these out. We can start writing and updating curriculum overviews. What do we really want our curriculum to look like? What can we throw out of the curriculum that's not relevant anymore? We can start looking at our communications. communications, whether it's to parents, whether it's policy memos. We can start looking at teacher evaluations and how we're giving feedback. We can start looking at board meeting recaps and follow-up action items and how those processes are running. We can start looking at what are some common student, parent, faculty inquiries, complaints. We can start looking at the accreditation process, grant reports. And while this might not be the sexy, flashy work of an AI update or what a cool tool can do, this is where the magic is actually going to happen, because it is the friction we need to remove to actually get to the things we would like to be able to do more of. And so when you start building AI agents to clear these bottlenecks, you don't just get your time back, you get momentum and you get business and organizational value. But here's the rule: if your AI agent isn't solving a workflow problem, it probably isn't worth building. So we talked about the opportunity, let's talk about the cost, because here is where it starts to get crazy, and this is where no one expected AI would have an impact. Now, there was a study that was done by researchers at Harvard and Wharton that basically said when AI joins a team, performance doesn't just improve, ideas don't just get more well-rounded, but people start to feel better at work. They ran a study with Procter & Gamble with over 750 professionals looking at how AI could be used on complex team tasks to see what are the outcomes and what would happen. And here is what they found. Teams using AI improved performance by 39%. That is not a small number. It is a major lift in both solution quality and speed. And that's not all. Individuals using AI, so these people over here in phase 1, improved by 37%, which basically was matching team performance. So this basically meant, they said, that a single person using AI, so this person over here in phase 1, can basically do the work of an entire team with no AI without sacrificing quality. Top-tier solutions were 3 times more likely when teams got together to use AI. The very best ideas, which were judged by external evaluators, were more likely to come from human and AI teams than human teams alone. This is really groundbreaking research that tells us AI use can actually give us those productivity promises that people have said would come as a result of this technology. But not only that, participants also showed more balanced cross-functional thinking. You see, with AI, technical people started offering more business solutions. Commercial people started offering more technical solutions. And that's because the AI wasn't just generating content. Remember, I told you the AI, these deep research tools, have the expertise of multiple different disciplines all in one. But that's not all. This is where people were really surprised. There were emotional benefits too. People working with AI reported higher levels of excitement and enthusiasm, lower levels of anxiety and frustration compared to working alone. And here was the most surprising part of all they said. People expected their performance to be worse with AI, but it actually turned out to be significantly better. So when we say AI is becoming a teammate, this is again not some future distant scenario. People are showing you today in real time with research how this is actually creating real results. And this isn't just about doing a few tasks for you. This is about elevating people in their performance, perspective, but most importantly in their happiness, their energy, and their enthusiasm. And so this is why designing your systems around human and AI collaboration and helping people make the transition between these different phases that Microsoft has pointed out for us isn't really optional anymore. It is how high-performing teams are not just going to work, it is how they are working today. And this is really where people are going to go next. So again, we always say we don't know what's coming, but Microsoft has laid out a pretty solid plan for how you can begin thinking about working with AI today. Here's what I want you to take away from this. AI agents are not just experimental anymore. They are how you prototype, how you train, and how you prepare. You don't need to do everything, but you do need to start somewhere. Pick one workflow, one team, one use case. Build something small, but make sure you are solving a real problem so that you can actually measure the outcomes. Did it save you time? Did it increase your productivity? Did it make people happier? Because when AI agents arrive, your job won't be to learn the basics, it'll be to lead the implementation. So build now, iterate fast, and stay ahead of what's coming, and I'll see you in my next video.